Good afternoon, boys and girls. We are going to continue our reading for our Magic Treehouse book, High Tides in Hawaii. And this time we are going to be reading with our groups. So you will be working with the people at your desk to read the book. You're going to popcorn read through the book. And what that means is you guys each take turns in order to read the book. Now, does anyone remember where we left off in our book, since we've already read chapter 1 through 4? Do we know where the kids were going? The beach. Good job. Now, one thing that we're going to learn today is making predictions. So can anyone predict possibly what they're going to be doing while they're at the beach? Swimming, okay. Surfing, yep, because of the picture. Building sandcastles, playing in the sand. Those are all really good predictions. We'll have to read to see what's going to happen. So since we've already made our predictions, we are going to now break off into our groups when I say go. But what I expect from you guys is to popcorn read with your partners chapter 5 and take turns reading, and also make sure that you are paying attention and comprehending the story, because we will have questions at the end of this lesson that pertain to the Magic Treehouse. So what we're going to do now is break off. I'm going to pull my 4 students with me and I'm going to help them popcorn read. So this is a side note on what I'm going to do during our popcorn reading with my students. So after reading page 5 with the first page with the students, I'm going to have them stop and I'm going to have them, I'm going to ask them if they have ever seen someone surf, went surfing, have been to the beach. And we're just going to talk about that for a little bit so they can make connections to their lives, because we're also making connections in this lesson. And then I'll give them each a chance to answer, and then we'll continue reading. And then after page 43, which is this page, there's like a little picture and everything. I'm going to have them predict what they think will happen to Jack next, because he went surfing and he was a little hesitant about going, so I'm going to see if they can predict on what they think is going to happen. So then after we do that, that's chapter 5, it tells you what happens. I'm going to ask the students in my group if they have ever been to the beach and if they've ever seen a big wave crash or have had a big wave crash on them in the ocean, because that is what happened to Jack, and I wanted to see if they could make a connection with their life. So then after all my students have finished reading, if there was time for them, I'd have them read it again just so they can comprehend it. It's only so many pages. So some students may finish earlier than some students, so they would have time to reread again. And then after that, I would ask the students in the whole group, the whole class, if they've ever been to the ocean, like I've already asked my small group, and if they've ever seen a big wave or had one crash on them. And I would allow a couple students to answer that. After that, we would do a Kahoot game, and I would pass out the iPads for the students, and I have a bunch of questions for them, so I will begin getting the Kahoot ready. Okay, students, so now that we are done reading, we're going to start playing a Kahoot game. And this Kahoot game is going to have 5 questions. And then we're going to have one other question that is going to be a written out question that you write in your notebook, and you get to write a little bit about it. And that's kind of more of an open-ended question. So once I pass out the iPads, we can start that. Okay, so I need you guys all to go on to kahoot.it with your iPad, and the game pin is on the board. So type that in, and I'll give you a couple seconds. Once you have your name in, put a thumbs up. Okay. So now we're going to start. All the questions are going to be on the board in front, so make sure you're paying attention. The first question is, did Jack seem like he was excited to surf? The answers were no, yes, or maybe. Good job. So our next question is, what did Jack want to do before he began to surf? Did you want to eat lunch, leave, read about surfing, or take a walk? Good job. Third question is, when are you supposed to stand up on the board? When you start towards the shore, before the wave, after the wave, or whenever? Our next question is, how did they get their boards out so far into the ocean? Did they swim out on the board? Did they jump? Did they use a boat? Or did they walk in holding the board? And our last question is, what happened to Jack when the wave came? Did he not go surfing? Did he fall into the water? Did he stand on the board and make it safe? Okay, good job. So the good thing about Kahoot is you can see all of the kids' answers, and then you can all hide them from them so they can't see them. And as you can see, my student got a 4 out of 5, so you're able to see that and see which questions they're struggling on still, which is very nice for teachers. Okay, so our last activity for this lesson is that we are going to make a prediction on what we think will happen next in the book. So a prediction is when you make an estimated guess on what you think is going to happen. So can I have my students grab their notebooks and their pencils from their desk? And I'm going to give you about 5 or so minutes to write down a couple sentences, a couple answers on what you think might happen. Can I have a couple volunteers share what they wrote? AJ?
I think Jack is going to keep practicing his surfing, and he's going to get up and ride a wave all the way in.
That's a very good prediction. After I have a couple students share their responses, we would start cleaning up and putting the iPads back so the students would lock them and put them back where they go. And then a couple of the evaluations that I just wanted to share is the informal assessment that I would be doing for this is the Kahoot questions. That'd be more informal because we're kind of just I just want to see where the students are with that. And then another informal assessment would be we have an effective worksheet, so it's going to be like a worksheet that students use to rate kind of where they are in this comprehension lesson, and that's just to show me how they're doing with this. And then a formal assessment would be their predictions on what they're gonna see, and that kind of helps me to see if they're on the right track, because if they're making a prediction that has nothing to do with the story at all, like the story's about the beach and stuff, and they make a prediction that he's gonna go eat a burger from McDonald's or something, then I know that they're not comprehending the actual story. So that will still, even though it's more of it's not like the whole Kahoot game that I'm going to assess, it is still something that I'm assessing, and that way I can see on a broader way, they're putting basically opinions on what's going to happen, and that'll still show me if they are understanding or not. And that's kind of my lesson summed up.